Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another spooky Saturday, at the time of recording at least. This video will probably go up on Sunday, of our Duskmourn deck review. So last time we went into the depths of the second level and looked at the Death Toll deck, being a surveilling and token-based deck. It seemed very much like the Mirko Obsessive Theorist deck from Karloff Manor, but with a bit more on the green side with the token generation, but still with the graveyard effects. So, we have 2 decks left. Now our final boss is obviously going to be Valgavoth. So he's next week's review. This time, we're going to be looking at Jump Scare with our commander Simone, Mystery Unraveler. So, this is interesting because she seems like a familiar planeswalker that was in maybe some of the previous Magic lore, I'm not sure. So this one seems to focus more, if you can see, let's just that focus, there we go, to focus on, Strixhaven, so yes, I think she was in that one. And a genius level intellect solving the ultimate riddle, escaping from Duskmourn's impossible halls, and researching her thesis along the way. So you have your 2 commanders, which we'll get into in just a second. You've got your archenemy cards, which if you've watched this series before, you'll know that each deck comes with these large archenemy cards, very similar size to the Planescaping, I believe it was called, cards. I thought they would be like regular Magic card deck size, they're not. But it looks cool. I think maybe in time we might be able to do a rundown of maybe an archenemy match to see how it fares, much like these deck testing videos that are an idea in the works, at least for the time being. But for now, we have Jump Scare, which is a blue and green, tricky instance and mysterious face down cards. So this might actually be able to hold its own. Maybe not as much as the enchantment deck. That one and Valgavoth seem to be the most spoken about. But with this one at least, I think it might be better than Death Toll. I think Death Toll seems to be the weakest out of all of these. Every precon set, there tends to be a strongest, pretty decent, and then a weakest. I feel like Death Toll everyone's kind of leaning away from, so let's see what this has, to see if it competes any better than the last level in Duskmourn, and see what this level of the Haunted House brings us. So, you know the drill by now. Get this open in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. So, we've got everything open, ready for Jump Scare. So we have our doors, which are in a nice blue and green, to show which ones are locked and which ones are unlocked. Obviously our spooky tokens, +1/+1s, and I'm not quite sure what that one represents, and obviously the big cardboard bit for the commander. Next we have our little poster. So, looks like Simone's had a bit of a change in terms of aesthetic, still keeping the main look alive with the Strixhaven uniform type thing, but it looks like she's more kitted for Duskmourn with her gadgets, and there and there. So, there's a little bit about her. Playing the deck is about Manifest Dread mechanic, which is new to Duskmourn. Pick and choose your biggest threats to put face down and wait the perfect moment to turn them face up. So, that would be interesting to see. And on the other side, obviously, we have more of the special rules for archenemy and commander, with a dynamic shot of Simone in her card art. There we go. Very cool. So, next we have our deck box, as per usual. They're not bad, they're pretty decent, but I do like the more proper ones that they have. And the thing everyone's looking forward to is the collector sample booster. Now, the last time we got these, there were some pretty good ones. Managed to get a nice collector's art. So, we have our little advertisement card. Oh, it's a shiny, it's a 2/3 with Death Touch. Ooh, hello. So we have a collector's edition Swarm Weaver. Now I've got the regular art for this card, but I like what they're doing with this. That's very cool. The big bee and a scarecrow. And then a shiny Sawblade Skin Ripper. Very nice. Very cool. I do like the way they're doing the alt arts for these collector cards though. They're definitely worth it in my opinion. We've got the Tommy one in the enchantment deck, I believe. Didn't get any in Death Toll, so that's an even bigger disappointment than the deck itself, it seems. And with this one we got the Swarm Weaver, which is really cool. So, next we have our arch enemy cards, as you guys pretty much know by now. So apologies if this gets to you later than planned due to technical issues, unfortunately. Meaning I forgot where I put my SD card for recording. This will probably be out on this Sunday because I've got a gathering, but not Magic the Gathering, with some friends tonight, and I can't miss that. Because, you know, social lives, what are they for, huh? There we go. So, our cards are My Laughter Echoes, Power Without Equal, ooh, that's pretty. That's a bit better. I Am Untouchable. Mine Is the Only Truth. Your Own Face Mocks You. There we go. Kneel Before My Legions, which was on the back of the box. It looks like they've gone back to more of the classic 80s style of art, which is fitting because the theme is more of 80s horror, VHS, analog horror, that kind of thing. You Are Unworthy of My Mercy. But no, the art direction is pretty cool, I actually like for this. Chaos Is My Plaything. Looks like a previous survivor. Your Plans Mean Nothing. And lastly, You Will Know True Suffering. Now I do wonder if each of these archenemy cards are randomized per precon, or if it's a set that you get at least the one card that is advertised in the deck, in the precon box, and the rest seem randomized, because I think there's 1 or 2 cards in previous precons that were the same. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a limited number of cards to begin with, and they just duplicate a couple that you can play again, or that sort of thing. I don't know, but it's an interesting take. So, got some. But they're a decent size. Like I said, they're like the planescaping cards. But yes, that to one side. Right, let's pop this puppy open, and we will have a look and see what's inside. That's really shiny, I like that. Okay, see you in 2 seconds. Okay, and we're back. So, let's go through the tokens first, with this deck. So you've got Insect and Manifest. You can cover a face-down manifested creature with the reminder card. Manifested creature card can be turned face up at any time for its mana cost. You've got Insect, Worm, and Fractal. Very pretty. Another Worm and Fractal. You've got a Phyrexian Beast. Nice. Okay, Phyrexians in Duskmourn. Actually, that would be oddly fitting, really. Beast and Manifest, another Worm with Trample and Manifest. Worm, oh, and Insect. Worm and Insect. Fractal, Scarecrow. Very cool, with Vigilance. Beast. All the different hands pulling at it. Masks. And Scarecrow. Okay, so we'll go on to the... Let me just have a little check, see. Okay, so if I take that out... So before we look at the actual main core of the deck, so we've got our 2 commanders. So, just come out a little bit. So we've got Zimone, Mystery Unraveler. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, manifest Dread. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may turn opponent you control face up. Okay, so you can manifest Dread, and then you can then turn opponent you control face up, so you can turn it without having to pay the mana cost, I suppose. It's quite useful. And our antagonist, as I seem to have learnt through the precons, you have a protagonist, a survivor, this is Valgavoth, which is just 2 enemies, and an antagonist. So this would be our antagonist, or foil to Zimone, which almost looks like the 2 kind of... I mean, they're in different rooms, but it feels very fitting to have these 2 together. Maybe that way. But we have Kian, Corrupted Memory. As long as Kian's power is even, you may cast a non-creature spell. You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. As long as Kian's power is odd, you may cast creature spells as though they had flash. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Kian. So that would be really useful for green-blue decks. But the draw power, getting her more and more powerful, and then you can flick between the 2 each turn, would be really useful. I quite like that, actually. That seems like a stronger commander, to be honest. But it depends on how you want to play things, really, doesn't it? So, let's just move this. We have... I have to just balance it because the focus isn't too great on this camera. We have Glitch Interpreter. They came from the pipes. Manifest Dread twice. That's pretty good. Simone's Hypothesis. I know the other Simone card that I pulled in the base set, which is the Commander, just not with that effect. It's to do with prime numbers. I can't remember fully what it is, but yeah, it's interesting. Curated Beastie. There we go. A little bit. Apologies for the quality. I don't have a proper lens to make this not so difficult to see. Disorienting Choice. Okay, so we've got our first room in the deck. We've got Experimental Lab and Staff Room. Shriek with Devourer. Oh, that's the Toy Story reference as well. Giggling Skitterspike, looking like one of Sid's toys. And it's a toy. Artifact creature. That's pretty good. So Halloween is only a week away. I wonder how people want to celebrate it this year. We've got Cackling Counterpart. I don't think I'm doing anything for Halloween. I might be running campaign. Citernal Hierophants, or Citernal Hierophants. But yeah, I don't really have many people to celebrate with in terms of, like, you know, doing stuff all together. Aether Gale, or Ether Gale. Body of Knowledge. Not this Sunday coming, but, or not, this is today when this video is up. Dig Through Time. I'm putting together a charity event for Magic the Gathering and board games over at the local activity centre, Kefnet the Mindful. And yeah, it's going to be good. Keru Spell Snatcher. We've got loads of raffle prizes, ranging from all sorts of media, from 40k to Magic to 3D prints and all that stuff. Primordial Mist. It's in aid of Young Lives vs Cancer, which is a good charity. And I think that, you know, obviously, I wouldn't say it's overlooked, but, you know, it helps families out with kids, and it's a horrible thing for a child to go through. One of the many horrible things for a child to get through. Scab Ruinator. So if we can raise money through, you know, playing Magic or board games or whatever, then by all means, you know. Shire Soul of the Wild. I'm quite looking forward to it. It's been a bit stressful planning pretty much 95% of everything, but I think it'll be a good turnout, honestly. I have faith in the people that I've spoken to. Augur of Autumn. Deathmist Raptor. Azuri's Predation. Hydra Omnivore. Multani Yavamaya's Avatar. Overwhelming Stampede. That's quite a good one because it's got Trample. Sandworm Convergence. Seems with this one it's got quite a strong defense, especially in the green. Scute Swarm. which is good because if you want to deconstruct this, I think you could make some very solid green and blue decks. Well, green at the moment, we haven't really got to the blue very much. Timir War Shaman, Thunderfoot Beloth, Trail of Mystery. I will say one funny story that happened this week was my fiance and I went with friends over to a local MTG hangout that we got a bunch of friends together and we played in this shop, Whisperwood Elemental, and I decided to play my red-black. I call it the red-black Boom Bang deck because you use Vile Smasher from Thunder Junction, Worldspine Worm, and it needs a lot of work, but it's just chip damage. That's the whole point, is that you just deal damage, and then, you know, it's got some really nasty little tricks on there from different things, from like Duskmourn and that. I see Tyrant of Gear Strait, and normally I have really bad luck with it. This time, managed to get a double KO on both opponents from just a nasty little combo in it. Eric Smither's Slumbering Isle, where you use at knife point and Vile Smasher's ability together. Biomass Mutation, which is great because Vile Smasher is every time an outlaw enters the field, which is either mercenary, pirate, assassin, that sort of thing, that's classed as an outlaw, oversimplify, enters the field on your side, that it deals one damage to any opponent. So you do that, but with at knife point, it's whenever you deal damage to, whenever you commit a crime or target, you create a mercenary token. Rush Me and Eternity's Crafter. So you pull out an outlaw card onto the field. Vile Smasher targets an opponent to do damage. You then do the damage, then knife point kicks in, create a mercenary, which then recycles back to Vile Smasher, does 1 damage, and unfortunately you can't loop it or else you just win in 1 turn. Scroll of Fate, and that would be broken as anything, but it's only a once per turn kind of effect. But it's so fun to just really annoy people because you can do a good bit of damage. Castle Vantress. On top of that, I put Grievous Wounds into it, so you just enchant player, do 1 damage from Vile Smasher, and then they lose half their life rounded up, and you just keep doing that, and it's really nasty. Oh, I love it. And they think Valgavoth is a bad red-black deck. They should check mine out once it's more with it. Drownyard Temple. Because honestly, that made enemies very quickly. Flooded Grove. I mean, granted, the deck itself can be countered very easily, and it's all down to probability of what you draw, but that just so happened to be a very, very lucky draw. Hinterland Harbour. Mosswort Bridge. So we've got a lands. Overflowing Basin. Temple of Mystery. Just going to skim through these as best as I can. Vine Glimmer Snarl. Yavimaya Coast. Here we go. Overgrown Zealot, he's in the base set, I've got a good few of him. Growing Dread, it seems to be quite a druid and beast heavy deck. Terramorphic Expanse, I've got loads of those. They're good for searching lands, at least. Beast Within. Growth Spiral. Very cool. Arcane Signet, which looks really good. Soul Ring, which looks even better. The base cards for Duskmourn, for like Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, that sort of thing, have some amazing art, in my opinion. They just look really good. So Command Tower. Your typical counter spell. No blue deck is without one. Or about 5 if you find different ways of using counter spells. Reality Shift. Retreat to Coralhelm. Beanstalk Giant. I think that's from the Wilds of Eldraine set, if I'm not mistaken. Cultivate. Explosive Vegetation. Greater Tanuki. Rampant Growth. Sakura Tribe Elder. Wilderness Reclamation. Yavimaya Lead Elder. Eudora Grave Gardener. So I suppose with this you could really throw like a druid deck together quite strongly with this, it seems. Eureka Moment. Tatful Yova Benfic Druid. Trigon Predator. Not seeing any Phyrexians at the moment. Simic Signet. Ash Baron. Evolving Wilds. Myriad Landscape. Quadrix Campus. Reliquary Tower. Which kind of seems a bit redundant because there is a creature in here that just says you have no maximum hand size, but you know, I suppose you've got to cover both bases in case. Simic Growth Chamber. Tangled Isles. Islet. Temple of the False God. Thornwood Falls. And then I'm guessing these will be our basic lands, so speed round this. So you got islands, island, 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 islands, island, 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 and then forest, 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 and forest. So those were. There we go. Those were the cards that make up the deck for Jump Scare, which is kind of funny because there is a card called Jump Scare in this set, but it's a white card. So I get it's the mechanic of manifesting dread and the rest of it, but I think this would be a pretty strong contender. Both commanders, you could get a really decent deck built out of either of them. You could put both in, but honestly, I think if it was me, I would more go for Kian personally, on the fact that 1, they get bigger every turn. 2, the fact that because of the odd even spectrum of turns, you have flexibility. Zimone is good for manifesting dread, which is great. You can get the big creatures out, and then if you haven't got a land out that turn, then you can just turn it face up, not have to pay mana cost. We're all good. Both are pretty strong in their own way, it's just how you want to play it. I still think that Death Toll is unfortunately at the bottom of the list. I would say this is a good 3rd place, then Enchantment, then at the top we have the boss himself. So, quite an interesting look to see that you have an antagonist and a protagonist type card. Some really interesting cards on the deck here, and yeah, I think it's pretty good overall. Quite a decent deck. Can't wait to try this one out, actually. Next to the enchantment deck, and obviously my fiance plays Valgavoth, because of course they do. And they're not bad. They're getting the hang of it. They're trying to play more aggressive. And that doesn't necessarily mean beating me over the head with a chair every 5 seconds, because I've just given them Grievous Wounds card. But they are doing well with this, and it is a very good deck, as long as you know how to play it. To be honest, same thing can be said for most decks, but yeah, that be it. So this concludes our 3rd level, venturing into the many halls of Duskmourn. I think there's only 1 room card in this deck actually, which is a surprise. But yeah, until then, I guess I will see you when we face the final depth of the mansion, and we face against the big bad boss himself, Valgavoth, in Endless Punishment, which should be coming out next week near Halloween. So until then, stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see you there.